So on the Eisenhower, this is where I'm filming it, heading into a wicked rainstorm I just passed, coming out of Chicago. Now, the Starfkr, I give him a lot more credit than I do most any other people, because he actually will have a dialogue and not just say something and storm off. You know, like saying that the Irish people were civilized by the blacks who were called the Moors. And there's so many things wrong with that, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, the Moors and the civilizingness of the Irish, what we call the, you know, the light that came from Ireland to re-educate England and Rome, was about, you know, like 800 years separated from the Moors, or at least Moors who would be black. And even then, black not meaning Bantu, but meaning basically dark Berber, because the Moors originally, for the vast majority of the time, were not. They were Arabs. They were in North Africans. Going on to the Pantheon, though, this is what I want to talk about. The Pantheon of Semite gods. You have Hubal, El, you know, they changed. Chemosh, Hadad, which were actually kings that then got adopted. And you have El, Dagon, Baal, Astaroth, Asherah, Manat, Moloch. We don't really know how they function. Dagon is probably a god of the storms, not a god of the sea. Maybe a god of the sea. Moloch, meaning king, and also meaning violence, and possibly messenger, was a god that there is human sacrifice attributed to. Or actually, it was practiced, and that god actually was revered in Carthage under the name, the Greco name Zeus, but Zeus of the Tophet, basically. But El, what is El? El is Elohim. This is short for Elohim, which is like deer. It can mean God or gods, how you use it. It's the most generic name for God, like Allah. Allah is not the name of God. It means God in Arabic. The Christians use that. The Jews use that. The Yazidis use that. The Mandaeans use it, and it was an Arabic word meaning God before the rise of Islam. And it comes from the Aramaic Allah, which is a derivation of Eloi or El or Elohim. These pantheons we don't know much about, but we do know that the enemies of the Israelites called their god Baal, the Lord of such and such, Lord of this, Lord of that. And El was it is the generic term for God. The God of the Israelites was Yod He Vav He. And we have the contractions of Adonai Elohim, and then there's El Ilan, El Olam, El Shaddai, you know, the God, the Almighty, the God Almighty, God Most High, God Eternal. But yeah, I mean, the pagans were not a writing people in their religion, really. I mean, what would you call pagan? Because there's pagan animist, pagan polytheist. And were the ancients really polytheistic? Look at the pantheons that wind up coming together after an empire is consolidated. Mercury and all the different gods of the ancient Greeks were actually local gods at one time. And then they all were pushed together. And, you know, Zeus, a generic term for God, was set at the head of it. They're almost like how the saints are with Roman Catholicism now. Or that's a poor way of putting it, because the saints came after the Trinity and all that kind of stuff. The revering of the saints. But yeah, I mean, if you needed a certain thing to get done eventually, you know, okay, Mars for war, or Ares. For love, Aphrodite / Venus. For the home, Minerva / Athena, or Juno / Hera. Juno or... No, yeah, Juno. But yeah, so the idea of, God comes from the pagans. Not to mention the pagan concept of God was always tied to nature. Whereas the monotheistic God, first described by the Zoroastrians and the Jews was a god that stands apart from nature. And this goes especially with Judaism, the world being created ex nihilo, God standing apart from space, time, energy, and matter. Whereas the pagan gods, every example is them being locked in to nature. So they're diametrically opposed. I mean, that's why if you look, science, and I know again this goes against quote-unquote common knowledge, science did not begin to flourish until you had that disconnect, which came with the late Roman period, and then you had the collapse, and what kept Europe running and brought it out of the Dark Ages, which was caused by the pagan barbarian invasions, was the retention and the importance of writing and preserving all ancestral works, whether religious or secular or even pagan, that was done by the church. That's, again, kind of goes back to the beginning, why the Irish had to re-enlighten the rest of Western Europe, because it all fell to the invading pagan hordes, the Lombards, the Franks, the Anglo-Saxons, the Visigoths, the Vandals, although the Visigoths had a large portion of them who were actually Aryan, and then the Vandals later adopted Arianism. But you have a myriad of these groups. So that's what I have to say about the Semite Pantheon and pantheons in general, and the difference between the pagan and the monotheistic God. Peace to you.